enhancement of another crime. So, for example, this particular case was an aggravated battery. If a person, while they're committing the crime, if they evidence prejudice, and that is part and parcel of the crime itself, or at least the crime is partially motivated by this prejudice, then the crime itself would be aggravated battery, evidencing prejudice. And the prejudice involved would be dealing with race, gender, or other groups. In this particular case, it was regarding race, and they're very sensitive cases, and they also involve very uncomfortable language. And this particular case, the prejudice that was evidenced was with language, and it made it quite apparent that that was the motivating factor behind the particular crime.
It would appear, and Dennis has already said that we're able to talk about this because the case is over and he won the case. So, but it would appear, just in terms of what we've read in the paper and the like, that that this person, the African American woman who was perpetrated upon by, let's not use that word, my husband would be very proud, but by this Caucasian gentleman, and she actually did not do anything to actually cause this upon herself, which I don't know that if that may or may not have been a part of anything, but she actually ended up being beat rather badly, wasn't she?
Well, she was actually run over by a car. She was on her bicycle.
Right.
She's actually a stranger to the defendant. So there was nothing between the two of them except for race.
And I know that he did try to use the defense of mental illness and the like, and apparently he'd gotten off using that kind of a defense before, which is not to say that, you know, people are not, you know, cannot be mentally ill, and of course mentally ill people sometimes do commit crimes, but how are you, well, I don't know if you can really even answer that, because we're told that the guy was mentally ill. How were you guys able to actually get around that type of thing? Was there insufficient, did he get tested and they found insufficient evidence to say that he was that badly mentally ill? Or?
Yeah, actually, and I'll talk in general because we still have sentencing left, so
Right.
I don't want to really talk about the specific mental health issues, but I don't think there was any doubt that there's mental health issues involved. But when we talk about a defense of not guilty by reason of insanity, the fact that you have mental health issues is not dispositive that you are insane at the time that the offense occurs. Basically, there's a two-part test. One, you would have to have mental issues, but in addition to having these mental health issues, you would have to show that you did not understand or know what you were doing, or if you knew what you were doing, you didn't understand that it was wrong. So if you have mental health issues, but you understand what you're doing, understand what the consequences are, that you could hurt somebody by running them over with a vehicle, and you understand that it's wrong, then that is not a insanity defense, even though you have those mental health issues. So that was the real question in this particular trial as well.
Okay, that's good to know, because there are a lot of people out there that call themselves crazy, or that other people call crazy. Some of them are running for office. Not you, but there are some out there that are running for office. But that is good to know, and the bottom line, in your practicing in terms of your 23 years, you've had an occasion, it would sound like, not only in terms of winning cases, but you've had an occasion to, even in terms of that litany of different issues that you've dealt with over the years, you really have had an occasion to really have a pretty diverse caseload.
I have. And besides all the violent crimes that I mentioned to you, I've had to deal with a bunch of theft cases, property cases, embezzlement cases, Ponzi schemes, really complicated paper trail type cases. You know, sometimes you'll hear a knock on prosecutors that basically all we do is criminal law. That's not as complicated as maybe in the civil field. But when we get involved in a property crime that involves some type of embezzlement, some type of fraud, some type of a Ponzi scheme, that's as complicated or even more complicated than a lot of these civil cases. And we do have the experience, the assistant state attorneys, to be able to handle these things, whether we're dealing with just criminal prosecutions or not. We have to be able to cross over and understand things in the civil realm as well.
Okay, good to know. Now, I had mentioned that because you had shared with me that you and your wife, there is a charity that you've been involved in for some time, and it's called Spark, S-P-A-R-C. Right?
Yes, it is.
Would you tell us a little bit about that? You know, it's always good to know that that people believe in giving back, and as you were sharing really some of the great things that have gone on in your life, I was thinking to myself, boy, you've lived a blessed life. And I'm sure it sounds like you really realize how blessed you are, and you have, as a result of that, then been trying to really kind of give back.